her door, like whispering, like, call 911, call 911, call 911. And she is who called 911.
That right there is a 911 operator at 3:30 in the morning, fighting to keep a 20-year-old rapper breathing on the floor of his ex's bedroom.
Anybody that knows me, and nobody can tell you no different, they can do an interview, 2, 4, 20 of them. I don't care what you do. One thing you'll never be able to do in those interviews is pull any black and white on what Tyree's mother, ever said in a disrespectful manner to anybody. I always kept a clear conscience for the support of my son in his memory. I never, ever, whether I felt it or not, whether I believed it or not, I never, ever called you out your name, disrespected you.
And that is his mama, almost 2 years later, holding 3,000 hours of recordings she says will decide who pays for it. All right, so let me put you all the way in it, because the way this one ended is nothing like the way it started. The young man on that floor was named Tyree Richardson, and around his way in Maryland, the streets knew him as FSO Gunk. To understand how he ended up dying in that bedroom, you really only need to know 3 people, so let me put them in front of you. First, you got Tyree himself. Second, you got Autumn Anderson, his ex and the mother of his little boy, Cody. And third, you got the new man in her life, a dude named Terrence Yancey, who folks called Trey. Tyree and Autumn went way back. They met as teenagers and got together around 2018, and what they had was that on and off kind of love. Hot one minute and broken up the next, then right back together again. They moved in together, they had their son, and Tyree did the thing a lot of young dudes never do, which is he held her down. The court records show he paid for a roof over her head, put her in a car, and kept money in her pocket even when the two of them were beefing.
How you doing, man? What's up, shitty? Man, I'm cool, man. What you out here for? The spot.
Last shit, yeah. Stop playing.
Fucking spot,
That's
baby.
hot,
Hey,
boy.
come on, man. What it make you do? Hey.
Ooh.
Shit gonna be finger licking good.
Finger
Hop in that
licking
motherfucker.
good,
Son.
yeah. Oh.
Tell him we got that new shit in
It's
there
that
too,
brand
man.
new. Brand spanking
Man,
new.
give me a month or two, man. This motherfucker gonna be up and running. I want y'all to support. Man, black businesses need to support each other a little more. In the community, we gonna be all over PG.
That boy motivating
the
you,
youth
yeah.
and do something a little different for the community. But we'll be serving everything: breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything, man. I just want. It's an experience for me, so you know what I'm saying? We gonna get it done. It's the spot. So I tell you what, going
Better
on.
let 'em
Pull up
know,
good
yeah.
drinks, alcohol for the little thotties.
For the little thotties, some party.
Hey,
You hear me?
it's all motivational use purpose though only. That's all it is.
Hey, come get lit.
But the arguing never really stopped, and on the 6th of June, 2022, Tyree packed up his things and left after he found out Autumn was still talking to another man behind his back. He moved out, but here is the part you have to hold on to, because the whole case spins on it. He still knew the code to the front door, and he still had some of his things inside that house. That other man was Yancey. He was 22 from Washington, D.C., and he came with a record of gun charges. And by Autumn's own words later in court, he was the type to keep a gun on him at all times. So now you see the triangle clear as day. You got the father, who is still tied to the home and the child. You got the mother in the middle, and you got a new man sleeping in the bed with a pistol close by. And here is the thing that should have been a warning to everybody. This was not the first time guns went off near Tyree. On his own birthday, the 27th of April, 2022, somebody jumped out and tried to take him out right outside his place in Crofton, and the whole thing got caught on a Ring camera. He was just getting out of the car when the shots started.
We doing this for y'all, because we love y'all. We love to see y'all grow. And when any one of y'all go, it's a problem. It's a problem for us. Because we did that shit. We all did that shit. All these old heads up here, we did that shit.
Old head, baby.
We are old heads. We are old heads for y'all though. We lost our friends. We did that. We lost our friends.
That's right, y'all.
We already did.
He had to run for his life, and somebody who was there that night ended up circling the whole neighborhood, screaming his name, just trying to find him before whoever was chasing him did.
I'll let you guys know we already have some marshals, U.S. marshals looking for him. So there's already a task force that's out, already searching. So
we already have a warrant for his arrest, and they're actively looking for him.
So
One last question.
that's never necessary for us. That's totally nothing you'd ever have to provide. Justice will be done with people needed.
Was he at entry point, or did he make it like up to the second floor?
He was in the bedroom.
He made it out alive that night, but after that, Tyree was never really at peace again. He started believing somebody close to him had set the whole thing up, and that fear is going to matter a whole lot once we get to the night it all ended. So let me walk you into that night. It was the 12th of June, and even though they were done as a couple, Tyree and Autumn were still passing Cody back and forth and still texting like two parents trying to keep things smooth. That evening, Autumn picked the baby up from Tyree, and they were going back and forth on Instagram about the handoff. Later that same night, she brought Yancey back to the house, and the two of them went to sleep in the early hours of the morning. And Tyree, somewhere across town, was about to make a choice that cost him his whole life. Around 3:30 in the morning on the 13th of June, Tyree let himself into that house on Lakeside Court in Dunkirk. And again, this was not some stranger kicking in a door. He punched in the code he already knew, the same way he used to when he lived there. His family will tell you straight up that he came to fix things with Autumn, not to hurt nobody, and there is nothing showing he had a weapon on him. He walked up to the bedroom, and that is where his ex was laying, right next to the new man.
And to say that this family who took you in as their own are these evil people, you're absolutely crazy. And I hope that you get the help that you absolutely deserve, because you need help. You need a lot of help. Because in your mind, what you believed about us is what we should have believed about you. And that's what you have shown us. You've shown us all of these mean things that you and your family have portrayed against my family is how we should have felt. How we should have felt. And thank you for showing me that. Because sometimes it takes time to show people who you absolutely are. But one thing is, once you show me once, you don't never have to show me again. Ever. Because I understand exactly what's in front of me.
Yancey woke up to a shape moving in the dark, and instead of saying one word, instead of even asking who it was, he grabbed his gun and let the whole thing loose. He fired 16 times out of a handgun. 16. Autumn told the court she woke up to the flashes coming off the gun, saw that it was Tyree standing there, and started screaming for Yancey to quit shooting while Tyree was already going down. By the time it stopped, the bullets had torn into his chest, his arm, his back, his head, and his neck. And his people will tell you a lot of those shots hit him in the back, like he was already turning to leave while the man kept firing. What came next is that audio from the very top of the video, and it is rough to sit through. Autumn ran into her sister's room, whispering for somebody to get help, and her sister got 911 on the phone.
So, in the story, this is the absolute truth. Tyree walked into their home. He was murdered. There were two stories. One was that the person who murdered him waited for him to enter the room and shot him multiple times. He emptied the clip. He shot 16 times. The story soon changed when forensic evidence came out. And the forensic evidence stated that the person stood over the bed and shot at him. That's the absolute truth. So whether they were up, sleep, I don't know, but that is what happened. Okay? After he was shot, he, because that's what he is to me, call him the murderer. The murderer went on about his business, and the girl, whatever she is, asked her sister to call 911.
The operator was trying to talk them through pushing on his chest, counting it out loud, doing everything she could to keep him here. But it was already too late, and when the deputies pulled up around 3:40 that morning, they found Tyree dead right there at the scene, lying between the bed and the wall. Now, I need you to stop and really see who they just lost, because this part gets buried under all the court talk. Tyree was only 20 years old. He was born on the 26th of April, 2002, and his family out in Glendale still calls him their ray of light. He wasn't some big famous star, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you he was. What he was a real one coming up, putting out music as FSO Gunk on Spotify and YouTube with songs like Losses that his local scene was already rocking with. And the music was just one piece of him, because this man also ran a food truck called the Spot 301. He was breeding dogs on the side. He went hunting with his pops. And more than anything else, he was a young father trying to be there for his son.
The 911 tape was revealed. There was a few attempts to try to resuscitate him. The dog, the family dog that lived in the house, was more important than my son's body. Laying dead. She was looking for her dog. Whatever the dog, King, whatever the name was in the 911 tape, it says she's yelling out the door for the dog. My son is laying in the bedroom, dead. The reason why I share this is I don't care. It could be anybody. I don't have to know you. If a person is laying in front of me, lifeless, I'm going to make every attempt that I possibly can to try to save that person. At no point will an animal be more important than a lifeless body. At no point.
But it was already too late, and when the deputies pulled up around 3:40 that morning, they found Tyree dead right there at the scene, lying between the bed and the wall. Now, I need you to stop and really see who they just lost, because this part gets buried under all the court talk. Tyree was only 20 years old. He was born on the 26th of April, 2002, and his family out in Glendale still calls him their ray of light. He wasn't some big famous star, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you he was. What he was a real one coming up, putting out music as FSOG Gunk on Spotify and YouTube with songs like Losses that his local scene was already rocking with. And the music was just one piece of him, because this man also ran a food truck called the Spot 301. He was breeding dogs on the side. He went hunting with his pops, and more than anything else, he was a young father trying to be there for his son.
Once that happened, I was called. As you saw from the transcript, I was called before 911 was called. We immediately tried to figure out how to get there. I've never been to this house before, so I was asking for the address. In trying to get to this location, I'm calling my son. I'm calling everybody, like 911, like, we got to get here. I don't know what's going on. We have to get here. I was initially told, and I will never forget this, ever forget this. My exact words when I picked up the phone was screaming at her. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? It was 3:32 a.m. Do you know just about every single day I wake up at 3:32 a.m.? Just about every single day since that happened, I wake up at that exact time. It was screaming and hollering. And she said, oh my, Tyree's been shot. And I'm like, what happened? Oh my God, is he okay? It's the first thing I said, is he okay? She said, no. And I'm like, what happened? She said, someone ran in here and shot him. It's like, quote, unquote. I immediately called my son because they were together. So I'm like, did someone follow him home? I'm frantic, like I'm going off. And my son is like, I don't know, like he left the club. And so we were trying to figure it out. Through all of that, when we arrived on the scene, it was 2 officers. So I'm like, what hospital did he go to? Again, these are things I will never ever forget, ever forget. And the officer said he's not at a hospital. So what you mean he's not at a hospital? What hospital? Like, I'm freaking out. I'm screaming, hollering. So he's in the house. So at that point is when we knew he had passed away. My exact next question to the officer is, did you find out who did it? Did you find out who did it? And his exact words to me was, her boyfriend.
That is the life that ended on that bedroom floor. Meanwhile, the man who pulled the trigger did not stick around to explain a thing. Yancey grabbed his phone and ran out the house barefoot in a pair of Autumn's pink pajama pants, and he disappeared into the woods nearby, dropping the gun somewhere along the way so it could not be found on him. That one move, getting rid of the weapon, ends up adding another charge to his name later on. He hid in a backyard for hours, then walked up to a neighbor's door claiming he had just been carjacked. The neighbor was not buying it. He spotted what looked like the shape of a gun pushing through the front of Yancey's hoodie, felt like something was wrong, turned him away, and called the police. By then, the whole area was lit up looking for him, with canine dogs, helicopters in the sky, and a manhunt that ran almost a full day before they finally caught up with him at a gas station the next morning. Not long after that, the charges came down, 11 of them, with first-degree murder sitting right at the top. So now it is headed to a courtroom, and Yancey had a decision to make before it even kicked off. The state put a plea deal in front of him back in March, and he turned it down flat, betting everything on convincing a jury that he was the real victim that night, a man who woke up scared and fired at what he thought was an intruder coming for the people in his bed. The state came in with the opposite story, and they came heavy. They brought more than 300 pieces of evidence, and the center of all of it was the path those bullets took. A crime scene tech walked the jury through it using rods stuck into the bullet holes in the wall and a full laser scan of the room. And what that work showed was that some of those shots came down at an angle, the kind of angle you only get when the shooter is standing over somebody who has already dropped.
At that time, to me, that was news. So, fast forward a week forward. Tyreek called me. We were in Jamaica, and he said, Ma, I need to come home. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, I just need to get her space. We got some stuff going on. Like, I don't want to be here. It's his exact words. I have text messages. Through that, I said, of course, absolutely. Like, I'm never going to turn my back on my kids, ever. Absolutely. Come get. He said, me and Cody. Him and Cody, they didn't come Monday. They didn't come Tuesday. They still lived in that home those days. Wednesday is the first night of that week that he spent in our address. Through that, through the couple days, they were cordial. They were talking. I shared some of his last stories. Like, he was normal. He was normal. He was not what was portrayed of him. Stories don't lie. Text messages don't lie. Like, I can't make this up. That Saturday, he was walking around because he couldn't get in contact with Cody. He was like moping. He was like, I don't know what's going on. I can't get in contact with Cody. He's supposed to be in Florida. He's trying to figure out what's actually going on. He wanted to talk to his son. He has messages to her sister. Like, is Cody with y'all? Is he okay? Like, that's what a normal person supposed to do that care about their son. You know how many young people out here that don't take care of their kids or not family? He cared. He cared about his family. So through that, again, they conversated throughout Sunday. They conversated throughout the day. They went back and forth. Some of the messages were shared. He, by no means, had the impression that they weren't together.
There was even blood on Tyree's sock, pointing to him being low to the ground, on a knee or already falling, while the bullets were still flying. Then Autumn took the stand and told them what she saw, that she woke up to gunfire, knew right away it was Tyree. She yelled for Yancey to stop while Tyree had nothing in his hands. And she is also the one who admitted her new man kept a gun on him as a habit, which only made the whole thing look worse for his side. When it was all over, on the 17th of April, the jury came back, and they did not give the family the murder verdict they were praying for. What they landed on was voluntary manslaughter, along with 2 gun charges, 4 counts of reckless endangerment for everybody else in that house, including a child, and a charge for ditching the gun. In plain words, the jury figured Yancey really was scared, but they also figured that letting off 16 rounds was way more than fear could ever cover. In July of 2023, the judge gave him 18 years, and he has to serve at least 9 of them before he can even ask for parole. For a family that just buried a 20-year-old, 18 years felt like nothing. Yancey even tried to fight it on appeal, but in the fall of 2025, the higher court backed up the whole conviction, so it stands. But the family never accepted the story they told in that room. To them, calling Tyree an intruder was an insult, because the man still had the code, still had his things in that house, and was the father of the child sleeping under that roof. They have spent every year since keeping his name loud, celebrating his life day by day online, and putting out his unreleased music so his son will have something one day. And his mother made it real clear she is not letting any of it rest.